Welcome back to the Reconnection Podcast. In our last episode, Dr. Michael Barta helped us understand addiction and sexually compulsive behaviors from a different perspective. Rather than viewing addiction as the problem itself, we explored how addictive behaviors often become attempts to solve a deeper problem. Today, we're talking about trauma. It's a word that gets used constantly, but it's also one of the most misunderstood concepts in psychology and recovery. What is trauma? How do you know if you've experienced it? And why do so many people immediately say, I don't have trauma? Joining us again is Dr. Michael Barta. Dr. Barta, thanks for being here.
Thanks, Corey. And I'm really glad we're talking about this because trauma is often the missing piece people never fully understand. And the moment many people hear this word trauma, they disconnect from the conversation, right? They assume we're talking about war, sexual assault, physical abuse, serious accidents, sudden loss of a loved one. And while these experiences can absolutely be traumatic, that's not the whole story because many people that hear that or use that as their reference of understanding trauma will go, that didn't happen to me. Or I had a pretty good childhood. I don't think I have any trauma. And that's often where misunderstanding begins.
So, why do so many people immediately assume trauma doesn't apply to them?
Well, it's because of the way trauma has been historically discussed. For years, people were screened for trauma based primarily on major life events. Have you been abused? Were you assaulted? Did you experience war? Were you in a serious accident? Did someone close to you die unexpectedly? And while these experiences matter, right, a lot, if the trauma is only defined through those experiences, millions of people conclude they never had trauma because many of these things never happened to them, right? Many of the people I've worked with who struggle with addiction or relationship difficulties don't identify with major traumatic events, yet their lives stay continually and profoundly affected by trauma.
So, how do you define trauma?
Well, I like to think of the word trauma can be better understood if we replace it with wounds, having a wound. Because trauma isn't what happened. It's not simply the event itself. It's what happens inside of us because of what was happening around us. And that's why trauma is such a personal experience. Two people can go through exactly the same event and be affected completely differently. One person's nervous system may adapt with little disruption, and another person's nervous system may be deeply impacted. And that's why trauma is so dangerous. People say, oftentimes, even in my intensive, it wasn't that bad, or other people had it worse. I shouldn't feel this way. But here's the story. Trauma isn't a competition. It's about how our experiences affected the developing brain and nervous system within us.
So, what kinds of experiences are people overlooking in this?
Well, these are the subtle ones. All right. So we mostly never look at these things as being traumatic to ourselves. But if trauma is our experience of an event rather than the event itself, these have profoundly affected us, right? And these are the repetitive experiences we've had. These are the ones that happened when we were in our developmental years. The things that didn't seem dramatic enough to really count, and these are things like having parents that were constantly busy, parents that weren't emotionally available, too many children in the household competing for attention. You could have moved a lot. So frequent moves or relocations, there could have been constant instability, just walking around never feeling understood, not feeling emotionally safe. Big ones are not having your feelings acknowledged or validated. And most people don't look at these experiences as trauma, right? And it's not ever because we had bad parents. People are often afraid, well, If I admit that I had wounds growing up, it means I'm telling my parents or I'm thinking my parents are bad, and that's never, ever the case, right? But when those experiences happen repeatedly over time, even over years, they can significantly impact how our brain and nervous system develop. And often the issue isn't what happened, it's what didn't happen. The nervous system didn't receive what it needed during the most important part of its developmental years, and that's where many of our struggles begin.
So, what exactly is missing or was missing?
Well, to have a brain and a nervous system develop to function properly, right? We need to have stability. We need to have attunement. We need to be validated. We need to feel emotionally safe. And we need to have a constant sense of connection. And when these experiences are absent, inconsistent, or unreliable, the nervous system adapts, not because it's broken, but it's trying to survive. The system begins searching for ways to regulate itself. And what I mean by that, it's finding ways to reduce stress, ways to feel calm, ways to feel safe. And eventually many people discover something that works. You know, for some people it's food, for some people it's alcohol, but for the men I work with, it becomes sex in some form. It becomes pornography, fantasy, masturbation, affairs, or other sexually compulsive behaviors, because these behaviors create an immediate shift in our state, right? Our anxiety decreases, our distress decreases, our loneliness decreases, and for a moment in time, we actually feel like we're fully regulated. And when we've never learned how to regulate through healthy connection, that relief becomes incredibly powerful.
So, the behavior isn't really the issue here.
Exactly. The behavior is a solution for what the nervous system never had or couldn't find. And what we're really looking at is a nervous system trying to regulate itself, because it's going to do that unconsciously. We have no choice over that. It's going to try to find relief. It's going to try to find comfort. It's going to try to escape our emotional pain. And this is one of the reasons I spend so much time helping people understand what trauma is, because if we only focus on stopping behaviors, we miss why the behaviors developed in the first place. And if we miss the reason, we miss the healing, right? Understanding trauma helps us understand the function of the behavior, and understanding the function is when real healing can begin.
You mentioned earlier that trauma creates shame. Why?
Well, for the first thing is, when we experience a trauma, it's incredibly personal. It's about us, right? Everybody thinks it's about me. Now, they don't think this consciously, but that's the first thing that goes through their mind. So, a lot of times when people hear the word trauma, they automatically feel weak, or they feel damaged, or they feel defective. So they try to push it away. They deny it. They minimize it. They start comparing themselves with others. But acknowledging that trauma isn't about blame, and it isn't about being a victim. It's about understanding. It's about recognizing that experiences shape people. The goal isn't to stay stuck in the past. The goal is to understand how the past continues to influence the present moment. Because once we understand it, we can begin to change it.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Barta. Today, we explored what trauma really is and why so many people fail to recognize it, and how developmental wounds can shape our nervous system, our relationships, addiction, and sexually compulsive behaviors. In our next episode, we'll discuss what it really takes to heal from sexual addiction. If today's conversation resonated with you, visit drmichaelbarta.com to learn more about his monthly Reconnect intensives. Until then, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time on the Reconnection Podcast.